its ongoing strike for another 12 weeks. A statement signed by ASU President Professor Emmanuel Oshodeke said this was to give the government enough time to satisfactorily resolve all their standing issues. It also stated that the rollover strike was effective from May 9, 2021. ASU said he took this decision after its National Executive Council meeting NEC at the Comrade Festus Yayi National Secretariat, University of Abuja. The meeting was called to review developments since the union declared an 8-week total and comprehensive rollover strike action at the end of its emergency NEC meeting at the Comrade Festus Yayi National Secretariat, University of Abuja, on 14th March 2022. It added that NEC noted with serious disappointment that the three-man committee set up by the President and Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces of the Federal Republic of Nigeria on 1st February 2022 to resolve the lingering issues between ASU and the federal government had not called a single meeting to date. Meanwhile, that the Academic Staff Union of University has rolled over its ongoing strike for another 12 weeks is no longer news. However, the prolonged industrial action is an age-long tussle that has made university education suffer a setback that has made Nigerian certificates not to be respected in some parts of the world. Margaret Okunlola brings an update on the strike and the position of stakeholders on the development.
After 3 months of face-off between the Academic Staff Union of Universities and the federal government, the industrial action is now to be extended by another 12 weeks. This was disclosed in a statement signed by the President of the Union, Professor Emmanuel, who said the extension was to give the government enough time to satisfactorily resolve all the outstanding issues. The dispute came at the heels of government's failure to implement the memorandum of action it signed with the union in December 2020 on renegotiation of the 2009 federal government ASU agreement, deployment of the University Transparency and Accountability Solution, earned academic allowances, funding of revitalization of public universities, both federal and state, proliferation issues in state universities, promotion areas, without salaries, owed for over 20 months in some cases, and non-remittance of third-party deductions. Not minding protests by various students' bodies from across the country, it still appears the disagreement has no end in sight.
We are not focused in this country. In the sense that we are just chasing shadow. We are not really, what we are really concerned with, we left to her, but we are doing unnecessary things. If a group of people can collect a form, 100 million, and where our education sector is not working, I think we need to go to the drawing board.
It's a big, deep one. They have to really engage more now to take their demands, to make sure that they have real demands and they can negotiate well and get what they want.
In view of the hard lines of the two parties, stakeholders have called for urgent steps to save public university education from imminent collapse.
ASU has their faults, which I don't believe strike every time is the solution. But then the government too is not doing wonderfully well at all. What we are planting today will be reaped in years to come, where you have to employ, you have to import graduates to come and run this country. That is where we are going now. Already you go to some places, you see some of our graduates that you can't be proud that this is a graduate of a Nigerian university.
However, some stakeholders are of the opinion that autonomy for the Academic Staff Union of Universities is the best way out of the mess.
ASU need to bring about a new strategy. I have asked a question: what is in the demand of ASU that no government in Nigeria has been able to meet? Can ASU start looking for independence of the university system? Government need to sit down, discuss with ASU. Can we have independence for our academics in the university. These are the whole lot of things that need to start coming up. So I agree with the fact that there is a problem, but ASUT is not pursuing it well.
Respondents generally note the importance of a roundtable dialogue urgently to end the dispute for the and their parents. Margaret Okunlola, OGTV News.
The National Association of Nigerian Students on Monday vowed to block all federal roads and airports in the country to protest the 12-week extension of the strike by the Academic Staff Union of Universities, ASU. NANS President Sunday Ashefon, in a statement condemned the inaction of the regime of the President Muhammadu Buhari over the industrial action which started on February 14, 2022. Ashefon affirmed that students of public universities will disrupt primary elections and conventions by political parties scheduled for May ending. ASU, led by Professor Emmanuel Oshodeke on Monday, extended its ongoing strike for another 12 weeks to give the federal government time to resolve all the outstanding issues. Reacting in its statement, NAS condemned the silence of the government and failure of the government officials to reach agreement with ASU because they could not afford private institutions for their children. In the meantime, the Tertiary Education Trust Fund, TET Fund, has commenced the disbursement of the direct intervention funds approved by the Presidency to public universities, polytechnics, and colleges of education in the country. The latest interventions, which ran into several billions of naira, saw each beneficiary institution being allocated over 600 million naira to each university, over 300 million naira to each polytechnic, and over 400 million naira to each college of education in the country for the year 2022. The allocation papers were presented to heads of the beneficiary institutions on Monday at the National Universities Commission, NUC, by the Executive Secretary of the Fund, Architect Sonny Echono. According to Echono, the desire to develop human capital to service the various sectors of the Nigerian economy primarily informed the government's investment in the education sector. He said the government is not unmindful of the deficit and decay in the tertiary subsector, noting that it also informed the establishment of the Tertiary Education Trust Fund, which was initially referred to as Education Tax Fund in 1993 and later metamorphosized into Tertiary Education Trust Fund in 2011. The TET Fund boss equally lamented the instances of distressed or non-performing projects, which, according to him, was becoming rampant and disturbing. The Academic Staff Union of Polytechnics, ASUP, is to embark on nationwide strike action from 11th May following the non-implementation of the Memorandum of Action it said it reached with the federal government in May 2021. The zonal coordinator of Zone D, which comprises of South and South and Southeast, Mr. Precious Nwakodo, stated this at a press briefing held in Auchi Polytechnic, Auchi, Edo, on Monday. Nwakodo said, following the discouraging response of the government to the one-month notice of ultimatum, which ended 5 days ago, 4th May, the NEC of the union will be meeting in 2 days' time at Abuja to review the situation and take a decision on the planned strike. He said that the federal government and the state governments have failed to commence payment of 10 months arrears of the new minimum wage after 3 years of signing the bill into law, adding that many states of the federation are yet to implement the new minimum wage in the various institutions. Nwakodo also decried the manner at which the management of the polytechnics and ministries of education has continued to take actions that are clearly in contrast with the provisions of the law, and called on federal and state governments to heed to the yearnings of the academic staff to avoid strike in the interests of the students and parents. Earlier, the chairman of ASUP, Auchi Polytechnic chapter, Mr. Lawani Jimo, assured that the Auchi chapter would comply with the strike. The West African Examinations Council, WAEC, Nigeria, has said the West African Senior School Certificate Examination for School Candidates 2022 will take place between May 16 and June 23 in Nigeria. Speaking at a press briefing, the head of Nigeria office, WAEC, Patrick Arehon, said the examination will take a period of 6 weeks, adding that the revert to May-June period for the conduct of the examination should be celebrated. He explained that the final international timetable for the conduct of the examination has been sent to all schools for the proper and necessary guidance. Arehon also said a total of 1,607,975 candidates from 20,221 schools had registered for the examination. He added that even though made a component of the registration process, it was not a compulsory requirement in order not to disqualify many candidates. Arehon also warned operators of rogue websites to desist from their heinous acts. As part of its social responsibility, the Rotary Club International District 110 has given scholarships to some indigent and brilliant students from various schools across Lagos and Ogun States through the district's Educational and Welfare Endowment Fund, DEWEF. Odunayo Oriyeni witnessed the award ceremony held at Ladoke Akintola Street, GRA, Ikeja, Lagos. Her report.
This, no doubt, a great moment for this set of students, as they have been given possibilities and confidence to launch and further their journey in their future careers. The Rotary District 9110 has selected 35 students that cut across different disciplines in various higher institutions of Lagos and Ogun State for scholarship awards. Having met the criteria for the scholarship, the students were offered a sum of 100,000 naira each based on merit to assist them in their university education. The chairman of the District Educational and Welfare Endowment Fund, past District Governor Professor Akinlabi, states that having screened over 200 applications that were received, 177 scaled through, and only 35 students with good standing were chosen, adding that the scholarship is meant to essentially empower students who are less privileged.
It will really go a long way in our educational system, because the indigent but brilliant ones are now getting support from a charity organization, so they will make meaningful impact in the society.
Speaking with the district's governor, Remi Bello, he affirmed that the essence of the scholarship is service to humanity, and over 200 million naira has been expended on the scholarship scheme in the last 12 years.
With the kind of inflation we have in the economy, the money we have given out is going to augment the expenses the parents are making on these children. So in a way, we are assisting the economy, we are preparing our future leaders.
The award ceremony commenced as each beneficiary takes a turn to receive their award. The beneficiaries were elated and just couldn't contain their joy for the great opportunity Rotary Club had given them.
I'm very happy, and I think Rotary Club is a legit club.
Especially as a medical student, it's very important for me to have something that I'm sure of, like every session. I'm sure of money to pay for my tuition fees.
The chairman, DWEF Board of Trustees, past District Governor Asiwaju Michael Olawale Cole, represented by the Vice Chairman, DWEF Board of Trustees, Yomi Adewumi, urged the beneficiaries to aspire to develop their leadership skill by being part of Rotary Club in their various jurisdictions in order to be useful to their various community.
You know, it's a revolving scholarship, so it's eternity. So long as there is humanity, there will be Rotary. So long as there is Rotary, scholarship continues.
The total of 120 awards were given to the students, 35 new beneficiaries, and an additional 85 awardees that were already in the scheme. Odunayo Oriyeni, OGTV News.
You are still watching OG, are still there. Nigeria has been rated by the World Culture Score Index as one of the countries with the lowest reading culture, while available statistics for mass literacy, adult and non-formal education show that 38% of Nigerians are non-literate, as 4 in 10 primary school children cannot read for comprehension. Globally, the influence of new technology has altered the disposition to reading. Regrettably, this adverse development is an obvious challenge that the country seems not to be paying needed attention to. Tiwalade report examines the causes and solutions to decline in reading habits among the Nigerian youths. Her report.
Which literacy history the country is famous for is gradually being eroded. In time past, the country paraded the best set of authors and publishers in Africa. Then, reading was an innate affection for both young and old. This reading inclination reflected so much on the quality of leadership and civil discipline that brought pride to Nigerians anywhere in the world. Before now, schools engaged and participated in reading activities to enhance thinking and creative ability of students, but lack of availability of suitable materials, absence of well-designed reading activities, insufficiency of trained staff to prosecute reading culture in schools, and ineffective monitoring and evaluation of readership promotion programs are constant challenges currently affecting readership development. Some trained writers emphasized the need for parents to instill reading habits in their children from a very young age at home, saying the solution is a collective responsibility.
In the reverse order, the parents must ensure and must insist that their children or their wards do read. You must be willing to buy books for them. You must be willing to ensure and say that they are seated somewhere and they are reading. If the parents insist that students must read, that people must read, definitely they will get to read.
I tell people, I preach the idea of every home should have a library. Let your wards, your pupils, your children at home read all of that books that can develop them mentally. Pick books and develop mentally and grow psychologically.
To this author, Martin Shomiola, government should encourage academic excellence reward in order to stimulate their interest in reading.
The way out is to encourage people, especially the youth, to be dedicated to reading. Because without reading, they can't have knowledge. And you know, they say knowledge is power. And then the application of it is actually what transforms. So we need to encourage youth to read. We need to encourage them to study. We need to encourage them to have this thirst for knowledge.
For the youth, who these days face distractions that are killing reading culture, stakeholders must do everything possible to revive the habits by creating an enabling environment.
You have to make it more encouraging. You have to create a system where people want to read, because we want to enjoy what we do. This generation wants to enjoy what they are doing. So you have to encourage reading in a way that, okay, I know I want to read, but let me enjoy what I'm reading.
I need good light. Sometimes I need to browse, check some things online, so good internet access and all.
You should try and make the educational system to be stable. 4 years should be 4 years, not 7+ years. But I see you need that, okay, let me read and acquire more qualifications now.
The downturn in reading and book readership has a global dimension, especially with the onslaught of the digital revolution. As severe as this may have become, concerted efforts by critical stakeholders are still key to reverse the situation. Tiwalade Fireson, OGTV News.
President Muhammadu Buhari has formally applauded commitment of development partners, including the United Nations, to support Africans' drive towards addressing challenges associated with desert encroachments and drought through the Great Green Wall Initiative. This was at a select meeting he convened with critical stakeholders in Abidjan, Côte d'Ivoire, in his capacity as President Conference of Heads of State of Government of the Pan-African Great Green Wall Agency. President Muhammadu Buhari told the international development partners that the Pan-African Great Green Wall bloc, comprising Nigeria and 10 other countries facing near and present danger, is due to the devastating effect of the desertification and drought. So this, he said, is impacting negatively on the security of their communities and livelihood of the people. Hence, the urgent need to confront these challenges headlong.
Summit initiative that pledges 19 billion United States dollars to support the activities of the Pan-African Great Green Wall, which necessitated this very important engagement with you this morning. The purpose of this meeting, therefore, is to inform you formally that member states want to trigger the process for accessing the funding by utilizing the Great Green Wall Accelerator window.
The window, he explained, is mainly to address, amongst others, land restoration and tree planting investment in small and medium-sized firms, develop climate resilience infrastructure, as well as the institutional framework to enhance security and stability and governance. Participants at the meeting, including the Deputy Secretary General of the United Nations, Amina Mohammed, commended President Buhari for unprecedented commitment in driving the Pan-African Great Green Wall agenda and promised desired support and assistance towards achieving the set objectives. The meeting resolved on the setting up of a task team to work with the Pan-African Great Green Wall Agency to chart the best way forward, while the meeting of the Council of Ministers of Member States is soon to be convened by the Minister of Environment, Mohamed Abdullahi, towards deepening the outcome of the just concluded meeting at the instance of President Muhammadu Buhari. Our Federal High Court in Abuja has declined the request of the Governor of the Central Bank of Nigeria, CBN, Godwin Emefiele, to restrain the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, of the Federation, Abubakar Malami, from preventing him from pursuing his presidential ambition. Emefiele, on Monday, through his lawyer, Mike Uzekome, told the court in Abuja that he can run for the post of the president without vacating his position as the CBN governor. Uzekome told the court that Section 8412 of the Electoral Act, as amended 2022, does not affect Emefiele being a public servant and not a political appointee. The court, in its ruling, however, summoned INEC and AGF to appear before it on May 12 to show cause on why status quo antebellum should not be granted to the CBN governor. The CBN governor had headed to the court in Abuja to seek a constitutional interpretation on his non-resignation while pursuing his political interest. Three interest groups, the Rice Farmers Association of Nigeria, Friends of Emefiele, and the Emefiele Support Group last week paid 100 million naira for the APC presidential expression of interest and nomination forms for Emefiele. But the CBN governor, in a tweet on Saturday, said he was still waiting for God's direction, adding that he would purchase the 100 million naira form himself if he entered the presidential race. 60-year-old Emefiele was appointed the CBN governor in 2014 and has since remained at the Apex Bank. All aspirants to the Ogun State House of Assembly seats in the 2023 general elections have been told that the final date for submission of the forms is Wednesday, 11th May 2022. The forms, according to a statement by the party organizing secretary in the state, Yemi Adelani, should be submitted latest by 2 p.m. The statement adds that there will not be any extension for submission, as the forms are to get to Abuja by midnight of the same day. The Ogun State Governor, Dr. Abeokuta, has commiserated with the family and the entire people of Ayekwe in Odogbolo local government area of the state over the demise of the Baba Dean of Ayekwe, Alhaji Shafiu Shitu, who died at the age of 90. The governor, who paid a condolence visit to the family of the deceased, described the late entrepreneur as a man who lived a purposeful and meaningful life, said that he was a righteous and respected man, particularly in the Muslim community.
That tells us that he is a righteous man. He is a respected community leader. He is a respected Islamic community leader. Let us see here, Baba, from all accounts that we know, he was a successful entrepreneur. You know, he was also a great philanthropist.
The Dagburewe of Idowa, Oba Yunusa Adekoya, who led other monarchs in Ijebu area, described the late Baba Dean of Ayekwe as an illustrious son and a philanthropist who did wonders through his venture into the production of high-quality brocade and lace fabrics, adding that he was a very pleasant man.
We can all testify to it. 1972, the factory was commissioned and Governor Rotimi at that time. So Erikwe is a long time. Alaji, a philanthropist par excellence, Leko, particularly at Mochalashi Street, I think number 4 or so, in Dumago. They did wonders with their brocade fabrics before they turned to lace, Austrian lace.
While speaking on behalf of the family, Wale Shitu, one of the children of the deceased, appreciated the governor, monarchs, and other well-wishers for joining them to celebrate a life well spent by their father. Today is the 35th anniversary of the transition of the sage Chief Obafemi Awolowo. Anywhere Awolowo's name is mentioned, the sage is attached firmly to him. Is there any other Nigerian so far revered with such appellation? Bumi Adigun, in this report, takes a look at the life and times of the man famed for wisdom. Please report.
Many people say he was Nigeria's scientific prophet, a seer, and a social scientist. He died 35 years ago, but till date, his legacy is still very much alive, such that history of Nigeria will be incomplete without a mention of the name of the first premier of the old Western region, Chief Obafemi Awolowo, for his immense contributions in the development of the country.
Bacon was by no means alone in his acts of perfidy and his unbridled desire to see Shagari win the presidential race by hook or by crook. It was a combined operation by SEDECO and the federal military government. From the very beginning, both the federal military government and SEDECO promised us free and fair elections. And the federal military government, through its spokesman, including no less a personality than the then military head of state, never tired of repeatedly assuring the people of Nigeria that in all the elections it had no candidate.
35 days before his death, Awolowo took a clear look at Nigeria and declared that his stars have been dimmed by incompetent rulers, and today the darkness lengthens. The only song in town is about the next elections. Awolowo's image and legacies loom large in life and also in death amongst Nigerians and in the African continent. Particularly, in the southwestern region, whom he gave his all to serve and show the light which they passionately followed.
That's our problem, and we shall solve it at the appropriate time.
Awolowo's legacies are evident by the commercial and educational progress that the Yoruba people are being made, and by extension in Nigeria and across the global arena. Furthermore, the Awolowo legacies and his leadership quality have placed him in a special place in the history of Nigeria. Bumi Adigun, OGTV News.
That was Chief Obafemi Awolowo, the late political icon. Rest on, Father. Political leaders in the country have been challenged to learn from the late sage and premier of the defunct Western region, Chief Obafemi Awolowo's politics of ideas based on clearly defined principles. The Vicar Samuel Enike gave this charge during the 35th Memorial Anniversary Service for the late political icon held at the Obafemi Awolowo Memorial Anglican Church, Ikene Remo, Ogun State. Adebola Oshomoji reports that the wife of Ogun State Governor, Mrs. Bamidele Abiodun, and the wife of the Vice President, Mrs. Dolapo Shibaju, graced the event. Her report.
35th Memorial Anniversary and Patronal Service for the former Premier of the defunct Western Region, Chief Obafemi Awolowo, was held at the Obafemi Awolowo Memorial Anglican Church, Ikene Remo, Ogun State. The memorial service was attended by wife of Ogun State Governor, Mrs. Bamidele Abiodun, wife of the Vice President, Mrs. Dolapo Shibaju, and other dignitaries. In his sermon, the Vicar Samuel Enike urged politicians to emulate the policies and legacies of the late icon and to always consider the interest of the people.
Chief Awolowo has come into the world to do. So we celebrate today his legacies, which is visible as light is for the whole world to appreciate. His footprints are evidently all around, and his voice of wisdom still resonates all around us. That is why we will hear the words of Awolowo. They are words written on marble.
Earlier, Mrs. Bamidele Abiodun and Mrs. Dolapo Shibaju had led Ikene indigents on a prayer session to honor the late sage at the newly constructed legacy edifice built in his memory. Born on March 6, 1909, Chief Obafemi Awolowo, the first premier of the defunct Western Region, died on May 9, 1987. Adebola Oshomoji, OGTV News.
The weekly free feeding meal exercise embarked upon by the Meal for Christ Initiative, a non-governmental organization headed by Mrs. Adewumi Oladunjoye, will go a long way in alleviating people's poverty level, and as well as help the children who are direct beneficiaries to concentrate on their academic activities. The special advisor to the Ogun State Governor on primary and secondary education, Mrs. Ronke Shoyombo, stated this during her visit to the base of Meal for Christ Initiative at Ashamo Community in Magbon, Abeokuta.
We heard about it that children are being fed every Sunday, and children have mentioned that in some of the schools that we have visited as well. And we're quite surprised, and that's why we have visited today, to see exactly what is happening. Because for a particular group to be feeding our children every Sunday, to me, it speaks volume. Because as the last week when we had the record, the child said, 264 children actually got fed. I said it would be nice for us to know where the place is, and that's what we have actually visited today, to see how our children are being fed. Not only that, the fact that somebody is actually giving back, it speaks volume, because to me, we're talking about values to our children. And the values we're saying is, let's care for the others. Be your brother's keeper. And that's what we're seeing in Meal from Christ today.
Speaking on what brought the initiative, the brain behind Meal for Christ, Pastor Wumi Oladunjoye at the feeding hall said close to 400,000 naira is being expended by her ministry to feed people every Sunday.
I'm a pastor by calling, and I've pastored for about 26 years in London, United Kingdom. And then in 2021, the Lord told me to come back to Nigeria and to come and help out in the area of feeding the needy. And that's why we are here.
The initiative in the last 4 months have been taking care of not less than 400 people on a weekly basis. The 20th anniversary of Ogun State Rental Services Proprietors Association Remo Division kicks off on Tuesday, 10th May, with a rally round Remo starting from Ishara through Ilishon, Ikene, and Shagamu. The association in the statement said the grand finale will come up on Wednesday, 11th May 2022 at Solomon Gbadebo Field, Ogiri Remo, Ikweru Remo. The special guest is His Excellency Prince Dapo Abiodun MFR, Governor of Ogun State, Chairman of the occasion, His Engineer Amoda, and Royal Father is His Royal Majesty Oba Victor Babatunde Ajay, FCA, Akarigo, and Paramount Ruler of Remo and Chairman Ogun State Traditional Council. The event will be graced by other eminent personalities. Up next is business news.
Glad to have you join us on the business segment of the news. Our top business stories. The Major Oil Marketers Association of Nigeria, MOMAN, has debunked claims that aviation turbine kerosene, ATK, also known as aviation fuel, has been sold at 700 naira per litre in some parts of the country. Mr. Clement Isung, Executive Secretary, MOMAN, made this known in an interview on Monday in Lagos. The airline operators of Nigeria had threatened to go on strike on Monday, claiming that the cost of aviation fuel had risen to about 700 naira per litre from 190 per litre. The strike was, however, called off after appeals by the federal government and other stakeholders in the aviation. Nigeria was unable to produce 22.658 million barrels of crude oil valued at 1.22 trillion naira in the first quarter of this year due to its persistent inability to meet the crude oil production quota approved for the country by the Organization of Petroleum Exporting Countries. An analysis of data contained in various OPEC reports released in different months this year showed that Nigeria failed to meet its oil production quotas in January, February, and March 2022. But in the highlights of OPEC's latest monthly oil market report for April 2022, it was observed that Nigerian crude oil production from secondary sources was 1.413 million barrels per day. Based on the above figures, this implies that the first quarter of this year, Nigeria failed to produce 28.658 million barrels of crude oil to meet its production quota as approved by OPEC. The naira slumped further in exchange to the dollar at 595 at the parallel market. On Monday, the naira was exchanged at 595 naira to a dollar. At the investor and exporter forex window, the naira fell by 0.20% to close at 419 naira after reaching a high of 444 naira. The Central Bank of Nigeria, however, maintained 415.69 naira as the official rate on its website. The CBN stopped forex allocation and the Bureau de Change operators in 2021 and later announced it will stop further interventions to the bank by the end of 2022. The federal government has solicited the support of state governments to boost access to off-grid electricity by rural communities across the country. The Minister of State for Power, Mr. Godi Jediagba, made the appeal at the Rural Electrification Agency Real Stakeholders Workshop in Abuja, with a theme, collaboration with states for accelerated rural electrification. His appeal came shortly after Gil Waranda, the team leader for economic development UK FCDO, disclosed that there are more people in Nigeria without access to electricity than any other country in the world. Jedi Agbawu disputed this, stressed that the federal government, through the RAI, has done a lot of bringing off-grid electricity to rural communities. He, however, stressed that it was impossible for the federal government to do much without the support of state government. The Central Bank of Nigeria may raise the nation's benchmark interest rate as inflation rate heads to 7-month high. The Apex Bank is projected to abandon its dovish stance and start a tightening cycle by raising the baseline interest rate in response to spiraling inflation trend, which is expected to hit a 7-month high at the end of announcement. The Nation Bureau of Statistics is scheduled to release the April 2022 inflation rate ahead of the meeting of the CBN's Monetary Policy Committee 23 and 24, 2022. And that brings us to the end of business news. We now go back to Iyabo for the rest of the news.